Welcome back. This story is called All Tangled Up, and it's about how I work with my horses to help them to understand that if they get tangled up in something, they need to stand still and let me come save the day. And this has paid off. I cannot begin to tell you how many times. I love this story because it's one of those things that if you do it right and you get that relationship right with your horse, like where this horse is standing right here, he's got this lead rope on the ground and he's not stepping and tangling himself up in it. What I do is I come out to the fence behind here in the back of the footage, and I tie them standing to where they can't tangle themselves up. And then I take an older horse out, like this one here, CK, who's been with me for about 5 years in this picture, and CK knows his way around lead ropes. He knows if he gets tangled up in it, all he has to do is nicker at me and I'll come fix it. And so I go over and sit down with my lawn chair and pick up my book, and CK's standing there eating, and a couple of the other horses are standing there eating, and the young horse that I'm working with is standing there watching, tied short where he can't eat. I want him to watch enviously because I want him to learn this lesson. So CK's standing there eating away, and directly, because he's got a lot of room, excuse me there, CK's got a lot of room to maneuver, he gets one of his legs tangled in that lead rope. Now, you don't just go out with any green horse and do this because they could tangle themselves up and break their leg. Literally, not a good idea. But I'd introduced him to this in stages, and he's been my training horse for this for years. And so these two colts here that you see in the footage when they were little, they're watching as CK's eating. They see him get tangled. They see CK turn around with his head kind of stuck and nicker at me. I get up, put my bookmark on my book, walk over. CK stands perfectly still. I say give. He lifts his hoof for me. I untangle the rope, scratch him on the side, and walk away. I did this 10, 15 times. The colt's watching the other horses do it, watching them get tangled up a little bit as they're eating every 5 or 10 minutes. Then I walk over and I give the horse, the little colt, each of the little colts, a little bit more room to work. They begin to nibble at the grass, and they can get the tops of the grass, and they're pulling at it, and I give them a little bit more and a little bit more. And then I give them enough that they can get tangled up. Now, I don't move away from them. That way I can pull that lead rope loose in case they do something stupid. But I let them get themselves tangled up, and the first time they panic a little, but almost immediately, having watched these older horses, and I have had it fail never, not even once, they watch these older horses do what they do, and then they imitate it. And so this young colt stops, scared, but lets me unwrap the lead rope. It's used to me picking up its feet, it's used to ropes around its feet and all these things. So I've done my groundwork beforehand, but this colt isn't afraid of the rope, isn't afraid of getting tangled up in something. And out on the trail, in the real world, that looks like getting a vine tangled across your horse's chest. And instead of the horse panicking, going, I'm going to die here, predators are going to come kill me, he just stops. Because he knows that when he stops and stands still and is patient, you'll fix it. And I get to the point with my horses that I can move further and further away, and they will stand patiently knowing that I'm going to fix it. It has paid off numerous times with my horses. As anyone who's worked with horses knows, they have an amazing proclivity for self-injury. And I came home one day, riding up the driveway in my Jeep, bumping along with the windows down, and I hear my horse nicker at me very plaintively. I look over, and here's my horse CK, and I'm thinking, that was a help me mommy type plaintive nicker, CK. What was that about? And I've slid to a stop, and I look at him, and he raises his right rear hoof as high as he can, flexed so that all the muscles are standing out, and I see that wedged between his hoof and the horseshoe are 2 strands of baling twine off of the bottom of a bale of hay. He's gotten himself tangled up in this thing, and I look over, and one of my daughters is standing there with a guy that she knew was kind of fond of her. And she's standing there trying to feed the horses, oblivious to the fact that he's now handcuffed himself, ball and chain style, to an 800-pound bale of hay. And my horse is stepping, step, 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 drag, thump, step, 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 drag, thump, and then sees me. Now I'm thinking he's going to tear a ligament, the muscles are going to go everywhere, this is bad. And so I yell, CK, stand! Well, he knows what that means. And so he drops his hoof to the ground and stands with pressure against that cordage because he knew the instant I got it free, he was going to take off. So all of that groundwork pays off. The lead ropes around their feet, rubbing them up and down, doing all your groundwork that you do with gentling pays off. Well, I turn around and I grab my sheath knife out of the Jeep, jump out of the Jeep, vault over the fence, and take off running at him at full speed. Well, He's had me run at him at full speed my whole life. He's seen me jump up and down and hoop and holler. He's not afraid of that. I could go to him quickly before he changed his mind and tried to move again and maybe tore one of those precious leg muscles. So I run up beside him, slide to a stop where I'm beside him, grab both cords, take my sharp knife, and slice through both of them. Well, he's got pressure against it because he knows the instant I cut it, he's going to take off. So he runs over towards the other horses, looks back over his shoulder at me and nickers at me like, "Thanks, dude," and runs down there towards where he was, going to have his dinner. The interesting thing about that was none of that would have been possible. He would have hurt himself really severely if I hadn't established myself as his benevolent alpha, if he didn't trust me implicitly, if we hadn't spent all that time teaching him that when you get tangled up in something, you stand still. That's so important. Stand still when you get tangled up in something, because what's the horse's instinct? To fight, to get away. And if you like this story, you're going to have to listen to All Tangled Up 2, the second part of this story. Have a good day.